Welcome back to Deep Soul Healing. In our last episode, we explored the inner child, the tender part of us that still carries innocence, needs, and wounds from our early years. Today, we move into another essential part of the psyche, the shadow self. The shadow is often misunderstood. People think of it as bad or dark, but really, the shadow is simply the part of us that we've pushed out of sight, the qualities, feelings, and truths we've disowned because they felt unsafe, unacceptable, or too much. Swiss psychologist Carl Jung coined the term shadow to describe the unconscious aspects of ourselves. These are the parts we try to hide, both from the world and from ourselves. For example, if as a child you were told you were too sensitive, you might have pushed sensitivity into the shadow. If you were taught that anger wasn't acceptable, you might have buried it only to have it leak out later in passive or destructive ways. If you were celebrated only for being responsible, your playful, carefree side might have gone into hiding. The shadow is not evil. It's simply unintegrated, and until we bring it to light, it controls us in ways we don't even see. Psychologically, the shadow often reveals itself through projection. This means we see in others the very traits we've disowned in ourselves. For instance, if you've rejected your own ambition, you may find yourself judging ambitious people as selfish or too much. If you've buried your vulnerability, you may criticize others for being weak. This doesn't mean everything we dislike in others is part of our shadow, but often our strongest emotional reactions point to something unresolved within. Integration begins when we stop rejecting these parts of ourselves and start asking, what is this part trying to show me? How can I make space for it in a healthy way? From a spiritual perspective, the shadow is sacred. It's not separate from our light. It is the gateway to it. The shadow carries our repressed creativity, passion, sensitivity, and power. When we make peace with the shadow, we stop dividing ourselves into good and bad. We step into wholeness. And wholeness is the essence of healing. There is deep freedom in saying, I am not just my light, I am my shadows too, and they are holy. I want to offer you a practice. Think about a person who triggers you, someone who stirs frustration, judgment, or envy. Instead of staying at the surface of that reaction, ask yourself, what is this mirroring back to me? Is there a part of myself I've disowned that's being reflected here? You don't need to agree with their behavior. You don't need to excuse harm, but you can use that reaction as a doorway into self-discovery. Then, when you notice a shadow part of yourself, try saying, I see you, I accept you, you belong here too. The shadow is not the enemy. It's the part of you that longs to be seen, loved, and reintegrated into your being. When you embrace your shadow, you expand your wholeness. You expand your capacity to love yourself and others without condition. In our next episode, we'll continue this journey into the psychology of the soul by exploring trauma cycles, how they form, how they repeat, and how we can break free to live in greater freedom and alignment. Until then, may you have the courage to look at your shadow with compassion, and may you remember, all parts of you are sacred.